So I just want to preface all of this by saying that I was the most... So we were like in a monogamous relationship for like a year and a half, and then we opened our relationship up. After doing something called ISTA, which I'm going to make another video about. But I just want to preface this by saying that I was the most anti-polygamy, like open relationship person ever, my whole life. I grew up in Christian environments, like my parents were Christian missionaries, like, and even past that, even like starting to listen to Alan Watts and like opening my mind to other philosophies, I felt like I had such a strong, like, you know, like monogamy is the way. And I'm also by no means like bashing that. It's literally just like, since we've opened our relationship up, it has been such an incredible positive transformation in my life, and also has like brought it has brought this level of peace in our relationship that was never possible beforehand. And there's things that come with it too, you know, like we both have done very, very extensive years of personal spiritual growth and all sorts of stuff before we even got into this. So that plays into it as well. But I just wanted to preface everything that we're going to talk about by that first, because, you know, the reason why I think I wanted to do this video is because someone like me that was so closed-minded towards it and so strictly like promoting monogamy, yeah, there's just a lot of things to be open to that have liberated me. So I guess this video is just to sort of shed light on that for people that are curious and maybe open, or, you know, especially people that... I think this video is going to be great for people that are practicing open relating, or in some sort of extent that, not only to have some people to maybe you can relate to through what we're going to share and everything like that, but also some practices that make it work well.
I'd also like to share the perspective in which I was coming from, which I had been married for 10 years prior to my relationship with Jimmy. And in that relationship, I agreed upon allowing my partner to explore other partners, but I didn't at that point feel the need to explore other partners myself. I felt completely at ease and content with my loyalty and keeping that monogamous energy towards my lover, my husband at the time. But at the same time, I felt it was totally okay for him to explore other partners, because I understood that love doesn't need to be restricted or inhibited. But at that time for myself, I felt monogamous for my own energy felt correct. So now coming to this place, yeah, we can kind of discuss what brought us to this level of understanding and relating.
Yeah, I think I have some general things that I want to say, and then maybe we can kind of go off of that. I think, you know, there's like some fundamental things about it to me that I've realized, which, and I don't mean to like project this onto anyone or whatever, but I feel like in a lot of situations, and I say this being someone that has been this person in these types of relationships, but I see a lot of times in the world, people get into a relationship as like, it's like an end goal. It's like sort of like, you know, now that I'm in a relationship, it becomes an ego between two people, whereas there was like ego here, an ego there, the two people come together to form an ego, and it becomes like what I see a lot of is people like sort of giving up on their relationship with their life in order to have status with being in a relationship with this person. And the other thing that is very strange, being my ability to sense and feel energy with people since being in an open relationship, because of multiple different things, and also just the practice of open relating has really opened up a lot. And there's something about being in like a monogamous relationship that feels like bondage. Like it feels kind of like ownership.
What comes up for me when you said that word bondage was the way that I felt when we first started relating, was how I really valued and appreciated our relationship, but for some reason, by naming it monogamous, I felt like I had only this one channel that I could express my love. I could only channel my love towards you. And at the same time, I felt this friction of feeling so much love within myself that I wanted to share with, and this isn't just sexual partners, but just my friends, my family, just everyone that I interact with. And even in, like, for example, when we're having friends gathering, I felt like, wow, I can't express my love too much to even my friends because this is my channel for loving, you know? And by releasing that bondage of like, oh wow, no, I have so many channels to love, it really frees up the river of love within the self, and allows it to grow that much more. And so it in that shift freed me from the bondage of being restricted to one path or one channel of loving.
Yeah, when we first opened our relationship up, it's interesting how it works, because we had just done this shamanic school called ISTA that was just kind of really blew a lot of things out of the water. I don't know if that's even the right. It just lifted the veil on a lot of things, you know, a lot of like sexual trauma healing and just bringing sexuality into the light, you know, and just like removing shame from sexuality. I think that's a lot of what it was, you know. And like probably a week after we got back, we both like at the same moment were just like, or I don't know, this is how I remember it, but I remember us like listening, I think we were like listening to Matt Kahn or something, and like we both at the same moment were just like, I don't know if we were both just like, we should be in an open relationship, or we both just were like, something needs to change, you know? And the first probably 2 weeks were very, very, very challenging. And mind you, like I'm using like the tools that I use for, you know, emotional release, and I'm breath work and all, and it's like freaking every morning for 2 weeks, and sometimes at night also I'm just like grieving and crying and whatever. And it's like, it was really just, I felt like what was happening was I was fully stepping into my relationship with life, and also like healing wounds of jealousy and envy and stuff like that. That's been a really big thing, because, you know, being in a monogamy, and that's the way that I feel, you know, even nowadays, like I'm very like an open, loving person, and with that all being said, you know, obviously like consent and boundaries is really important, and like I'll go into that as well, But I can feel sometimes, like, when I meet, like, a woman that's in a monogamous relationship, I can feel sometimes how there's, like, chemistry. And it's not like it all needs to be sexual. We need to all be having sex. Like, it's just, like, there's an energy exchange, you know what I'm saying? And there's something about connecting with people physically. Maybe it's just, like, an authentic hug or, like, embrace or just holding each other that opens up a channel of intimacy and connection. And a lot of times it's, like, surprisingly intellectual, but it's interesting how, for me, like, those channels don't open up unless there is, like, that physical. It's so interesting. So anyway, I kind of got off a little bit there, but the first couple weeks, really challenging. And it's interesting now because I've been on the road for, like, about 3 months, pretty much. And so Ellie has been home, and I've been, like, on the road. And we've both been seeing other lovers, like, since we've been gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because whereas before there would be, like, jealousy and all of this stuff, it's like, when she told me she was connecting with one of the lovers she's connecting with now, it was just like, I'm just, like, happy. You know? Like, it's like, I feel freed of that sense of, like, and I think that's why it goes again back to the ego thing, right? Because I've talked about this in one of my videos, like, ego versus confidence, where it's just like, I'm no longer competing with anyone, you know? Like, if Ellie connects with somebody that they have that Eros passion and they're able to experience pleasure together and bring each other up and grow together and everything like that, like, that's wonderful, you know? And also, being in this state, it's just like, that's another person that can be a brother to me now as well, you know? So I feel like through this practice, I mean, this is, like, super deep to me, but the more that I go into this practice of open relating, the more that I feel like it's a peaceful practice. It's a peace practice. It brings people together. Instead of saying, like, I own this one person and we live in this collective ego together, it's like, we're all coming together. We're all, and frankly, like, ego just can't survive in that environment.
And I'd like to make the point also of that transition from jealousy into love was actually when you connected with the first lover after we announced that we were going to be openly relating, and it was like in my heart. I was just like, I felt the energy in my heart space, and intellectually I was like, okay, this is a good thing because I see him growing and glowing from this new interaction. So by seeing him growing and glowing, I should also be happy, right? Well, it was a difficult journey to realize that joy within myself as he was experiencing joy. And the journey through that was realizing that the piece that was so painful for me was that there was a part of myself that I was giving to him in order to love. So I was giving him the responsibility to love me in the places that I had neglected unknowingly, and once I was able to reclaim what I was holding him responsible to love, once I reclaimed those pieces in myself, I came to love again. I came to love myself. I came to feel the joy that he's experiencing through expanding his awareness into love and connection with others. And through that connection, again, made another sister, and you've mentioned it before that the more that we love, the more our tribe grows in a very connected, deep, authentic, genuine, meaningful way, because we're growing through these edges together and supporting each other in that growth. So,
I feel like this is such a big topic, and obviously, you know, we're just speaking from whatever's coming out right now spontaneously. But if anybody like wants to be a part of this conversation or like ask us questions about certain things, you know, that's really welcomed. The other thing that I think is really on my mind right now is just the practice of conscious relating. When there's eros energy, like eros sexual energy, it's, you know, it's interesting being, I guess this is something that I was going to talk about earlier too, is like the reality of feminine and masculine attraction, right? Like both parties being in their element and charging, you know, the masculine charging in the masculine and being moving forward in the life in life, creating something, you know. So it's like when those two energies are both growing and charging in their own, they're going to come together, they're going to magnetize. And it's really interesting to meet lovers and notice that energy and move it and be conscious with it and be like, even especially when it gets really, really intense and you're moving that energy, like breathing and consciously being like coming back to the being present throughout all of it, and then just being like, okay, what do we want to create together? Or, you know, what is in this space? I just released a video on, I've talked a decent amount about intuition and authenticity on this channel. And I was just talking to Ellie about this too, which is just like, there's like this concept of like sex magic and all of this stuff. And I feel like, you know, if you're daily doing this practice of like checking in with yourself and being like, what is the most authentic thing for me? What is it that I want to create? And allowing intuition to be a guide through that by listening to the body, I really feel like this practice of moving this energy with a partner that you're polarized together, and then using that as the battery that like continues to propel you through life with this bliss. I mean, it's just bliss. It's just like the feeling of bliss, you know. Whereas it was so much in our culture, and I don't mean to like shame this or anything like that, and it's a practice, right? It's a practice of like, you know, practicing moving that energy and being with that energy, and not just always going for the orgasm, you know. Like, this has really been something I've been learning more and more and practicing more and more, just like moving that energy, and then just like breathing that and go, okay, like let's go out into the world now, you know. Like just for example, like let's say you're with a partner and you're like, it's like early in the day and you're like making love and you're moving that, and you just like get to the point where you're just like, oh my god, if it gets any more intense, it's just like, wow. And then, okay, breathe that energy together and like be present in that, and then the two of you go out into the world. That's powerful.
And that's tantra too. That's cultivating energy in your environment and bringing it with you and seeing energy in all things and seeing the relationship that you can cultivate in anything, you know. With a partner, it's especially powerful, but you can have and cultivate that connection with anything that you relate with, and that could be anything that you touch your hands to. That could be any of your work. That could be any of your play. That could be anyone that you relate with.
It's magnetic. It literally, people can feel the magnetism. It's incredible. I think I'm kind of getting eaten up by mosquitoes, and I think it's time for this video to be over. If anybody wants to open this discussion about open relating, leave a comment or a message, or send me a message, or send a video or whatever. Text me, like,
You're also welcome to message or contact me, Ellie Vates, on Instagram.
I'll tag you too.
Okay.
Any last words?
No, I love you so much. Keep loving yourself more and more each day, and all is well.
Peace.
Peace.